Hello, friends. Today we will talk about a person whose name is known to everyone interested in sales. Yes, you guessed it right. It's Jordan Belfort. He is the Wolf of Wall Street. In this video, you will learn where he started, how he became famous and rich, how he ended up in prison, and most importantly, the advantages and disadvantages of his technique and how to compensate for them to increase sales. So watch until the end. But before we begin, I want you to imagine yourself in the position of a sales manager. So you just talked to a client on the phone, used all the techniques you knew, were persistent, convincing, and tried to guide the client through all the stages of the sales funnel. But at the end of the conversation, the client still said, "Thank you, I will think about it," and hung up. Familiar situation, right? And here you are, sitting disappointed, confused, exhausted, and wondering why it didn't work. What did I do wrong? If you recognize yourself in this situation, then this video is for you. We will analyze the success story of Jordan Belfort, his sales technique, and see what works and what doesn't. And most importantly, let's try to find an alternative that might be significantly more effective. So, where did Belfort start? He was a simple guy from Queens, New York. After college, he tried himself in various fields but did not achieve much success anywhere. Everything changed in 1987 when he got to Wall Street and started working as a broker. And this is where Belfort realized the main thing. Success in this field depends on aggressive sales. He didn't just offer clients favorable conditions. He literally attacked them using all possible methods of persuasion. He could spend hours on the phone, not taking no for an answer. His energy and assertiveness impressed both colleagues and management. And you know what? It worked. His company Stratton Oakmont became one of the most successful brokerage firms of the 90s. At the peak of its success, it employed over 1,000 brokers and generated millions of dollars in profit, and Belfort himself became a true star of Wall Street. What was his secret? His incredible ability to persuade people. Belfort's sales technique was based on several key principles. First, taking control of the conversation. Belfort taught his brokers to seize the initiative from the first seconds and not to give it up until the end. The second is creating the image of a successful and confident salesperson. Belfort's brokers always spoke to clients as if they were doing them a great favor by offering a deal. The use of magical phrases and scripts by Belfort were ready to respond to almost any client objection. Fourth, emotional impact. Belfort believed that people make purchasing decisions based on emotions, not logic. Therefore, he taught his brokers to ignite the client's desire by appealing to their dreams of wealth and success. 5. Managing intonation and tone of voice. Belfort masterfully changed the pitch, volume, and emotional tone of his speech to enhance his impact on the client. He could speak in a whisper or confidently and loudly, and it worked. These principles, multiplied by the incredible charisma and energy of Belfort himself, created his phenomenon. It seemed that he could sell anything to anyone, but, as is often the case, behind the shiny facade of success, there was a dark side. The methods of Stratton Oakmont were not always legal. Eventually, the company caught the interest of the FBI. An investigation began, which lasted several years. In 1998, Jordan Belfort was arrested and charged with fraud and money laundering. At the trial, he pleaded guilty, made a deal with the prosecution, and received a reduced sentence of 22 months in prison. But he also had to pay over $100 million in compensation to his victims. But we are not interested in what he sold, but how he sold it. So let's now take a closer look at Belfort's sales system known as the straight line. Essentially, it is a very aggressive version of the classic sales process, which consists of 4 stages. Establishing contact is the first stage. The main thing here is to build trust and interest the client. Various techniques are used for this, from compliments to innocent questions that make the client say yes. The second is qualification. At this stage, the salesperson tries to understand if the client has a real need for the product, if they have the money, and if they can afford to buy it. Belfort taught to do this quickly and efficiently so as not to waste time on unpromising clients. Third, the presentation is the most important part of the conversation according to Belfort, where the salesperson must convince the poor client to make a purchase. Belfort did this through a series of emotional pushes. From describing a beautiful future with the product to warning about the terrible consequences of refusing to buy. Do you remember the movie Wolf of Wall Street with DiCaprio? And fourth, of course, is closing the deal. Here, the salesperson must get a clear agreement from the client on all the details of the deal. Belfort was known for his ability to close clients, pushing them without giving them a chance to refuse. At each of these stages, Belfort used various psychological techniques, from mirroring, copying the client's body language and manner of speech, to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. His technique was so refined that he could literally lead a client to a purchase as if on a straight line. Hence the name straight line system. But despite all its effectiveness, Belfort's sales technique has several significant drawbacks. It is based on pressure and manipulation. Essentially, the salesperson tries to impose their decision on the client without paying much attention to their real, true needs and desires. This may work in the short term, but in the long run, it destroys trust and reputation. Secondly, the technique requires constant emotional tension. Salespeople in the style of Jordan Belfort are always on edge, always aggressive, always on the verge. This is exhausting and often leads to burnout. Do you even remember what the managers were doing in the bathroom when you watched the movie? The technique works poorly with educated and experienced clients. Such clients quickly recognize manipulation and do not succumb to emotional pressure. And now, attention, a question. Is there an alternative? Is it possible to sell in a different way without all these manipulations and pressures? And the answer is yes, it is possible. Unlike Belfort's technique, Neurosales does not try to impose anything on the client. Instead, it focuses on a deep understanding of his real desires and true intentions as well. The salesperson here is not a manipulator, but a helper who assists the client in realizing the need for the product on their own without explaining its value. The neural network is based on, first and foremost, establishing genuine human trust. A humane salesperson builds relationships with the client based on honesty, openness, and mutual respect, on positive emotions and pleasant interaction. Secondly, it is based on working with deep desires. The method aims to uncover the true driving motives and needs of the client, which the client may not be aware of. The method reveals the client as already being valuable before they hear information about the product's benefits. Third, Neurosales is based on an ecological and non-intrusive approach to guiding the client towards realizing the value of the product. The client comes to the decision to purchase independently without pressure from the seller. Fourth, Neurosales is based on building long-term relationships. A client who buys using the Neurosales method is more likely to return and recommend you to others, as their decision was based on real value and a positive interaction experience, rather than manipulation. Sounds like magic, right? But this is merely the evolution of sales technology. In 10 years, there will be something new. But right now, this is the best there is. And now let's look at a specific example of how it works. Imagine two sales managers, Taras, who uses Jordan Belfort's technique, and Vika, who works with the Neurosales method. Both are calling a potential client, a business owner, Mr. Volodymyr, to sell him new software for financial management. From the first seconds of the conversation, Taras tries to seize the initiative. He interrupts Mr. Volodymyr, bombards him with questions, and praises his software as the best in the industry. When Volodymyr tries to object, Taras doesn't listen and continues to press. Eventually, after half an hour of aggressive persuasion, Mr. Volodymyr agrees to the purchase. More, to finish this unpleasant conversation, and also hope for the future. Vita starts by carefully listening to the businessman. She asks him questions about his business, his current challenges, and goals. She really tries to understand his situation. With her questions, she helps Mr. Volodymyr realize the need for more effective financial management on his own. And when he himself comes to the conclusion that he needs a new solution, Vika gently presents the possibilities of her software, the very opportunities that match the needs and motives voiced by Volodymyr. As a result, The businessman not only buys the software, but also sincerely thanks Victoria for helping him make the right decision. Who do you think businessman Volodymyr will turn to next time he needs something for his business? And who will he recommend to his partners and acquaintances? This is the power of Neurosales. It is not just a sales technique, it is a philosophy of relationships, a philosophy where the primary focus is not on profit, but on real value for the client. So, to summarize, the story of Jordan Belfort is a story of ups and downs. A story about how a seemingly brilliant sales technique taken to the extreme can bring incredible success, but also about the price at which this success is achieved. Belfort was undoubtedly a brilliant salesperson. He understood the psychology of people and knew which buttons to press to get what he wanted. His straight line technique has become legendary. Many still try to copy it, but few truly succeed. Perhaps it's time to ask ourselves, do we really want to build our businesses and our relationships with clients on manipulation and aggression? Prepared for our clients to feel deceived after interacting with us? The Neurosales method offers a different path, a path of honesty, understanding the real value for the client. Everyone wants this, but they don't always know how to do it in each specific situation and make it actually work. Maybe this is exactly the better thing we talked about at the beginning. If you want to learn more about Neurosales and build a sales system based on trust and mutual benefit, you have two options. Schedule a call with me or our experts. We will personally demonstrate to you how Neurosales works, how it closes deals when nothing else works. You can also find access to the Sales Academy with free videos below the video and watch the size of the call using the Neurosales technology.